my new FPL Game Week 1 draft. The game has been out for over a week. We are 3 weeks away from the start of the season. The Haaland versus Salah debate rages on. We need to know, do we want budget in defence? Are the players going to be back from the Euros in time? Are the players at the Olympics? What is preseason form doing to our teams? So now that we've got a little bit of information, I can update from my first draft today. I'm taking you through that team. Here is my updated Game Week 1 FPL draft. What is up, everyone? Harry here. Before we dive in, 1,000 likes on the video is the aim, and subscribe if you are new around here as well. Game Week 1 is 3 weeks away, and we are updating my draft today. Again, just a little bit of a reminder, as I know people tune in for the draft videos and not everything else. We're doing our best to continue the incredible run of form in terms of rank that we've had over the past 4 seasons. Again, top 6K for the past 4 years in a row, and Premier Fantasy Tools, which is linked in the description if you want to check your overall rank over the past 3, 4 or 5 years to see where you sit in the longer term FPL, ranks me second in the world over the past 4 years with those ranks. So we're doing our best to continue with that. Again, apologies if you don't like me talking about it, but I have to do a little plug every so often during preseason, because once the season starts, it's not relevant anymore. So diving in to have a look at this draft. In goal, we've actually changed it up a bit, and there have been quite a few changes from the draft that I posted. That was my first draft. We've gone with Miguel of Nottingham Forest. Carlos Miguel is their new signing. At the end of last season, they were really, really strong defensively, but they conceded way too many chances from set pieces. Going into the second half of the season under Nuno, they kept just 1 clean sheet, which was 17th in the Premier League. Only a few teams worse than them, of course, keeping no clean sheets. However, when you understand a little bit more about the data that they had, they conceded 33 goals in that time, which is actually the 8th best. So you can already see a bit of disparity there. The expected goals conceded, when you look at the underlying data, for that period was 3rd. This is behind just Manchester City and Arsenal, better than every other team in the league. The issue is, when you look at their goals they conceded from set pieces, they conceded 11 goals in 18 games from set pieces, which is categorically the worst out of any team in the Premier League. And when you look at a chance conceded from a set piece, they are naturally very low XG chances, which is why they have signed this goalkeeper, Carlos Miguel, who's in my draft, who's 6'8" and a 6'5" centre-back, to try and combat the amount of chances that they have been conceding from set pieces. If they, have the ability to counter that and not concede so many of those chances, they could be really underpriced and a great defence along the likes of what we had with Everton last year. I did have Sanchez of Chelsea. I still don't hate the Chelsea goalkeepers. I think they could be decent. Does sound like Chelsea are still in for another goalkeeper during the transfer window, which does put me aloft a little bit. And when I look at the Chelsea fixtures in a bit more detail, I wonder if they're not actually that good from a defensive point of view. A lot of them are away for the teams that you might want a clean sheet for, and a lot of them are looking a little bit better in terms of their attacking form. So I haven't gone with him. I've gone with Miguel instead. The backup that we've changed from Turner, who's very highly owned and not get any minutes and is likely just to drop in price, I've gone with Vladimírsson at Brentford. He is a goalkeeper who plays internationally for Iceland, and he signed in January. Flecken has been fine for Brentford, but there are some Brentford fans who do want Vladimírsson to get some minutes and actually get some starts. He has played some minutes already during preseason as well. Again, it's unlikely that he gets starts, but right now there's no real 4.0 goalkeeper to own, so that's who we're going with. Into defence, we are going with 2 6 million defenders, so Trent is not in this draft at the moment. I have gone with Gvardiol. I've been very positive about Gvardiol going over the past couple of weeks. Then I didn't own him in my first draft because I wanted Trent. And when you own Trent, it really hinders the other premium defenders that you've got unless you downgrade somewhere in your attack. So what I did is I did Trent and a 4.5 million defender to basically Gvardiol and then another 6 million in Saliba. And there's only 0.5 difference between Gvardiol and Saliba and Trent and a 4.5. And despite how good an option I think Trent is, I think that made sense for me to do that. Of course, Chelsea in Game Week 1 is not the best, but Ipswich in Game Week 2, and if he's playing so far forward as he did at the end of last season, could be such a good buy at 6 million. Saliba is in. It was Robertson, but we have heard that Robertson has picked up an injury and isn't going to go on the preseason tour. He is still expected to be back by Game Week 1, so we might review that position between now and the start of the season, but at the moment I had to drop him. I've gone with Saliba over Gabriel just because of Calafiori signing for Arsenal. We don't 100% know exactly where he's going to play. Initially, it was thought that it would be at left back, But of course, they've got Timber, who's now back fit and available, who was going to start for them there last season, who could play left back. Calafiori can play a left centre back, which is where he played at the Euros, which is Gabriel's position. So I've gone with Saliba at the moment, who just feels more nailed than Gabriel. Mykolenko in at 4.5 for me is just clear at the moment as the best 4.5 million option. The run of fixtures is pretty good. There are a couple of difficult games in the first four, but Brighton at home on the opening day is pretty good. Barco and then Harwood Bellis are the two 4.0 options that I've got. Barco is planning on, is expected to play for Brighton whilst Estupiñán is out injured, which is likely to be up until October, about game week 6 or so onwards. Harwood Bellis again is nailed for Southampton going forward. So Barco is quite a key here, and it saved me 0.5 because I did have another 4.5 option in that position. But I spoke about it in my cheap options rotation sort of video that we did yesterday. Go and check that out. It's all about sort of cheap options, rotating defenders, cheap midfielders, cheap forwards that you might want in your team. And it rotates really well. Mykolenko, Barco, and Harwood Bellis. You can look at it here. You basically get to play Mykolenko every week, apart from game week 2 and game week 4, where Barco and Harwood Bellis fall in really, really nicely. Barco also took some set pieces for Brighton in their most recent friendly as well. And I think Mykolenko at 4.5 is just underpriced. When you look at someone like Tarkowski and Branthwaite being more expensive, but Mykolenko actually having a better points per 90 than both of them, but he's not gone up in price because he did have an injury for part of last season, means I think Mykolenko's a no-brainer, and Barco and Harwood Bellis just rotate nicely in those slots and just are nice and cheap. Just before we move into midfield, a reminder to join my league code with the code U8F9FQ. I don't do big giveaways. I don't do big prizes for my mini league. I use my mini league as an opportunity to raise money for charity. So effectively, at the end of the season, I will donate £100 to charity plus 10p for every single one of you in that league that beats me at the end of the season. Last season, I donated just over £200 to charity. That's because I had a good season. If I have a bad season and lots of you join, it could be a big bill that I'm paying at the end of the season, but it's for charity, and that's what we do with my mini league. So apologies for no real big prizes or things like that. We do give them away on streams throughout the season. Those who have followed last season will know that, but we do try and raise some money for charity. So do go and join that league if you haven't already. And there's a link in the description if you want to just click that. It will auto join you. It's much more simple. Moving into midfield. So I have made a change and there's no Haaland in this draft. Mo Salah is in there. Good captaincy option early on. Ipswich away on the opening day. Likely to be my game week 1 captain. I am keeping an eye on them in pre-season though, because there's mixed reports about exactly what setup Salah is going to have in this new Arnie Slot system. Some people saying he's going to be playing out on the wing, really far wide, and others saying that Arnie Slot tends to play with inverted forwards, so Salah will be really focal. I expect it to be the second option and him to be central and focal, just because I don't also expect him to allow Salah just to sit on the wing. He is 12.5, but I have gone with him. I then have two mid-premium sort of 10 million options. I've gone with Saka and I've gone with Foden. Arteta has almost but confirmed that Saka should be back for game week 1. Wolves at home in game week 1. Some decent fixtures opening up. If I had 0.5 for Palmer, maybe I'd do it, but I'm pretty happy with Saka. I then add Foden because I do want a bit of Manchester City cover, and of course I don't have Haaland. Ipswich at home in game week 2 is going to be tough enough without Haaland, let alone not having a Manchester City attacker, so I do want Phil Foden in there. Then we've gone with Nkunku. Nkunku has scored in his most pre-season friendly. He is looking really good. He's playing out on the left. He's also coming in central to get some chances. 6.5 million is a great option. I don't necessarily think he can cover Cole Palmer, but I think he will be one of the best buys if he stays fit to the start of the season. Last preseason, we all had or all were considering going with Nkunku for our game week 1 teams, and it's the same again, yet he's now a midfielder and he's cheaper than he was last season. And the final midfielder is 5 million Rodgers of Aston Villa. He just rotates nicely, much better than any 4.5 in terms of potential point scoring. He looks so good in terms of preseason form, and Unai Emery is speaking so highly of him. Yes, there's a bit of risk for minutes when Champions League starts, but 5 million, he could be 5.4 million by the time Champions League starts, and Unai Emery is so positive about him, and the fixtures are really good. Then we move up front. Watkins and Isak are kind of non-explainable, but Isak definitely is in here, and I haven't got Gordon, and I think Isak is such a standout option. He might even be a captaincy shout in game week 1. Watkins away at West Ham. He's second best behind Haaland for those expensive forwards. It's Haaland or Watkins for me, and I'm not going with Haaland, so I do think Watkins is good. Arsenal in game week 2 is not the best, but I think he can definitely still do something, and he might be on penalties now that Douglas Luiz has left. And the final forward at the moment is Chris Wood. It's either Chris Wood or Muniz of Fulham. I think these two are much, much better than João Pedro, who was in my first draft, I believe. But both of them look good. Muniz finished the season well. Chris Wood has already scored twice during preseason as well. So really, really impressed with him. This team would be a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 every week. In terms of game week 1, we'd be benching Barco, Harwood Bellis, and probably Nkunku against Manchester City, whilst playing Rodgers away at West Ham. So this is how the draft is lining up at the moment. Let me know what you think in the comments. Of course, there's no trend. I've got two 4.0s, but I have explained that they do rotate well. What 4.5 million goalkeeper are you going with? Because I cannot decide on all of them. I'll probably decide once we get closer to the start of the season anyway. So this is where we're at. Haaland has left the team. Salah is in. We've gone with the two mid-price options in Saka and Foden. Again, let me know what you think. Ask any questions about your team as well in the comment section down below. I'm really interested to still hear more and more comments on Haaland versus Salah versus both versus neither, which I'm starting to see in some drafts as well. We will be rating some of your drafts in a video next week as well. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed for when I ask for that. Set notifications for the upcoming videos. 1,000 likes is the aim. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll be back again very soon.